Alright everyone, what's up? Mikazuki, hello, how's it going? I just got started, I'm just about to start streaming. How's it going? This is a slightly adjusted setup from my previous setup of streaming. I was previously just doing it from my iPad. So this time around, my brother helped me out a lot. Basically, he did all the hard work. But yeah, he helped me to set up a better stream with a better camera, and I'm not using my iPad anymore. I'm using OBS on my PC. Probably that was the best way to go from the start, but I don't know. I just was using what I had that was like easiest for me to understand, which was the iPad. So now I'm working on this. Turn down the volume on the VLC player. Okay, thank you. Night Trap will do. Let's see. The volume control. Oh yeah, it's 65 now. Now it's at 51. Just let me know how that sounds. So, what is the plan today? The plan is to work on the Eldar. Again, my goal was to finish them up by the end of the month, and I think we're in good shape to do that, I think. The bodies of the Eldar are mostly done now. The bodies of these guys. I did all the gems the last session. So the main thing to do at this point is the guns, really. So here are all the guns. The arms have a lot of little details too, which I need to pick out as well. And I wasn't going to do this. I was only going to paint one gem on the models, which was on the chest there. But I'm thinking about painting a gem on the gun just because I don't know, it seems a little basic, not like the gun right now as it is. So we might have to paint a gem on the gun. So how's the voice, how's the sound, everyone? Just let me know. You can make some adjustments. Just getting a little organized while we set things up. Let's see. Okay, these are all the Eldar. These are the guns. These are guns that I painted previously, like almost when I originally bought these models, so they're really old. And I painted them in a slightly different way. So that's kind of something that I have to think about. Okay. Alright, so let's get some paint on so we can start working. Let's see. Just gonna get my brushes ready. Okay, got some brushes. Now, so the last time I streamed, I was painting these guns, and I basically just did the base coat of bleached bone on them. Right? But then off stream, I did a wash of brown ink mixed with some black to kind of create the shadows and the depth. And they look pretty good now, but I think at this point, I want to do a little highlight, or like bring back the original bone color as like a highlight. So that's what we're gonna do next. And I'm using Ushanti bone. I'm just gonna shake it up as we always do. So this is something that we can talk about a little more later, but I went to a hobby store, first time in a very long time, and mostly to look at Gunpla and model kits. And yeah, we can talk about this a little later. I ended up picking up a model kit. And also some paint. Just this one color, Pixie Pink from Army Painter's War Paints. I've never bought this color before. Sorry, I've never bought this brand before, but I hear it's pretty good. A lot of people have like kind of transitioned from using Citadel to using Army Painter War Paints. So I haven't tried it, but I'm thinking it'll be pretty decent. Let's read this real quick. War paints have been developed by the Army Painter and have a superior quality pigment and smooth coverage essential for painting detailed miniatures. Shake well, non-toxic, water-based, top quality. Perfect for painting armies of wargaming miniatures. In case of eye contact, mix with running water. Made in Denmark, home of Lego. That's interesting. This is made in the UK, is it not? Yeah. So that's interesting. What about this one? P3 paints that are made in the UK as well. All right. Is this enough shaking? Okay. So as usual, we have our wet palette. Just gonna throw down some of this. That's probably enough for now. It's always better to put a little less, and then you can get more as you paint, rather than putting too much and then you've kind of like wasted the paint. It's gonna end up getting dry or something. All right. So let's start. Crap. I should get a bottle of water. Okay, I'll get some water in a sec. So I haven't really decided on how much I want to paint with this bleach bone, but we'll kind of start with like a edge highlighting kind of thing, and then we'll see from there how much stronger should it get. This should be a gem. I'm debating whether I should paint it as a gem or leave it as is, but I can make a decision about that later. Also, there's this, to me it looks like a rail or something. There's this rail here. And I think we'll just kind of paint that. Just like that. Okay. I think that's looking pretty okay. Pick out the details. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good, just like that. And we do have to do the back side of the gun, but I'm going to pay far less attention to making that nice, just because it's going to be the side closest to the body of the miniature, and so you're not really going to see it. So I'm going to kind of cheat. Yeah, just like that. Don't really have to spend too much time doing the rest. And let's see about doing... I'll see about doing a highlight, like another level of highlighting. I'm actually not sure if I'll do that. With like a more lightened bleach bone. Maybe what I'll do is paint these as I am now, and then when it's all assembled, I'll do the final highlighting. Maybe. We'll see. Just trying to carefully pick out the details. This gun here, I feel like I was a little too heavy-handed with my washing, with the wash. And so it's far darker than I'd probably want. But I'm not gonna fix it, so I'm not gonna like go and change the whole thing. Okay, crap. I might just because I'm that sort of guy. We can kind of do a bit of glazing to fix it. So maybe we'll do that. We'll do that after. We'll set this aside on a different pile. The ones that we need to fix. See, because there's quite a difference between these two if you look. Right? This is like, I would consider the ideal sort of final result. And this one, yeah, it's a little too dark, so we'll put that aside here. We'll continue. Yep, so for anyone wondering right now, the music that's playing is from the game Arcanum. And I mentioned this before, but it's an RPG, like a computer RPG that came out in the 2000s or something. And I've never played it. I just like the soundtrack a lot. I guess it'd be kind of similar to Baldur's Gate or something like that. Maybe not as good, like it's not as fondly remembered, I guess. But it does have its fans to this day. Maybe I'll get around to playing it someday. I'm pretty sure it's on Steam. I mean, I also kind of want to play Baldur's Gate again at some point in time. Although that game, I really wonder if it holds up to this day. I really don't know, because around the time when I just got my iPad, I bought Baldur's Gate for iPad, and I was so hyped up to play it again after all these years. And in fact, one of my friends got an iPad, and like before I did. And one of the first games that he showed off on it was Baldur's Gate 2. I'm referring to Baldur's Gate 2, by the way. I keep on saying just Baldur's Gate, but Baldur's Gate 2. And I was like, holy crap. Playing Baldur's Gate on a mobile device. That sounds awesome. But when I finally got around to playing it, I was like, alright, it's okay, but it seems like the kind of game that would be best suited for the PC with a mouse and keyboard. And yeah, if you're, the text is going to be really small on iPad, all this stuff. So, not a very good return to Baldur's Gate 2 for me. So I'm kind of holding out to get a PC version. Have you played the expansion to BG2? No, Night Trap. I'm pretty sure you did though, right? The expansion came out like around the same time as Baldur's Gate, just a little after it, right? However, I'm pretty sure that they're what's it called? Like the developers Beenox, who did the port to PC and all the modern version that you can buy on Steam now. I'm pretty sure that they made some new DLC as well for the game. It goes on sale every time, like all the time whenever there is a sale on Steam, so I'm not too worried about getting it eventually. Yeah, it was fun, Night Trap? Oh, okay, cool. And I feel like Beenox, they introduced some DLC that was like from the fan-made community or something. Or I might be thinking of what's it called? Neverwinter Nights. Okay. I think that's good. You know, I should really take a look. Did the iPad come with the expansion? I think the iPad version came with like all expansions, even the like the fan-made ones or whatever that I was talking about. I think so. That's the only way to get it now, I think. I don't think you can buy it without expansions. Maybe. I don't know. Like, there's like new portraits too. They made new portraits and stuff. Possibly a new class? I don't know. I should really take a look at artwork for the Eldar, because I'm wondering how the bullets, how like the Shuriken Catapults come out of this gun. Might be a little hard to explain, but these are called Shuriken Catapults, right? So it's not like, I don't know if we can consider these things like traditional guns that like shoot out some kind of ammo or energy out of this, like out of like a hole, like out of a tube. I think that this is a rail. This is kind of like a rail, and the shuriken is kind of launched from this rail out. And so that this portion here isn't actually like a nozzle or the hole where like of a barrel. That's the word I'm looking for, a barrel. And this whole area here is just kind of like meant to support the rail that the shuriken comes out of. I think that might be how it works, but I should probably check some artwork to make sure, because the design of the Shuriken Catapult has changed over the years. This is a cartridge, right? That that stores all the shurikens, I'm assuming, right? But if you take a look at some of the older designs for the Shuriken Catapult, like these guys, for example. Maybe I have a painted example somewhere here. Do I have a... Oh, okay, here's a better example. This is an older Eldar Guardian from like the 80s, and they do bear some resemblance to one another, right? Like to the guns. This one here, this somewhat more modern version is a lot longer, of course. But there are similarities. But if you look at this one here, there's like a canister, kind of reminiscent of a, I don't know, like a mobster Tommy gun or something. There's a canister here rather than the ammo being like in a cartridge. And I'm assuming that the shurikens are stored here, and then they launch out. But I should look at the artwork and see how that exactly works. Night Trap, I always imagined that they shoot ninja stars. Yeah, that's what a shuriken is, isn't it? It's a ninja star. The Shuriken Catapult. Yeah, because when you just the word Shuriken Catapult, it doesn't sound like it's a typical gun, right? And that the whole like launching propulsion mechanism is very different than like what we would understand a normal gun to be. Beanox is owned by Microsoft after the Activision deal? Oh my gosh. Wow. They're not the ones working on the Star Wars game, are they? Beanox? The remake of Star Wars Old Republic? I don't think so. Okay. So I feel like between like this session and possibly another one, we'll be finished these guys, and that's pretty cool. Pretty happy about that. And then I can start thinking about what's my challenge going to be for next month. What will I be painting next month? Might be time to get a new model, maybe? We'll see. I think this is a little too wet. Okay. I need to fix this one a little bit. Good enough. Night Trap Aspire is working on the KOTOR remake. Okay, what have they done? That's not a name that I'm familiar with. Hopefully they've done some good stuff. And I don't know if it was a rumor or if this was like from the developers themselves, but I seem to have heard that this remake is going to be sort of reinventing the combat as well. So it won't be the same combat as the original KOTOR, which I'm actually okay with. The original combat in KOTOR was pretty basic. In fact, it was, at the end of the day, kind of like FF12. Actually, no, I would say it was not even as good as FF12, because the combat in FF12. Am I thinking of 12? I think it's 12. Yeah, 12. It was actually pretty interesting. It was kind of like an MMO, but there was like programmable AI. And no, KOTOR didn't really have that. KOTOR was very basic, kind of like an evolution of the real-time with pause system that BioWare had been messing around with in their previous games, like Baldur's Gate, which we've been talking about. Just kind of redesigned for like a 3D game. Looks like they do ports. Okay, so this is a big step up for Aspire. And, man, I find it very unusual how that all went down, just because it seems like Aspire and LucasArts are working on this game, but so far, do we know if it's multi-platform or if it's just a PlayStation exclusive? I have no idea. Seems like it'd be very awkward and weird if it was just a PlayStation exclusive, right? Okay. Let's see. And like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on the other side of this gun, just because it's not really going to be seen when it's so close to the body of the miniature. So that's good enough, I think. Okay, let's get some. Let's get a drink here. Today's beverage is coffee. PS5 and PC. Okay. Alright. That store that we went to yesterday, they actually sold some miniature strategy games, but not Warhammer stuff. They must have some kind of like they must have some kind of issue with Warhammer. Or maybe because there's that store, there's actually like a Games Workshop somewhat close by. They figure they might as well like not sell the Games Workshop stuff. But they sold other games. They had this game called Conquest. I've never seen it in person. I've only heard people talking about it on the internet. The miniatures. Hey, how's it going, Bacon? What's up? What's up? I was just talking about the hobby store that we went to the other day, or no, yesterday, and they had a pretty good amount of Gundams and like Gunpla and other plastic model kits, Japanese plastic models, a pretty decent amount. I wouldn't say like a huge, super amazing amount of them, but a decent amount. And they had like a bunch of other stuff too. Like, it's actually like the kind of store that I really like, because they had a bunch of different stuff, like railway, carts, model railroad. That's the word I'm looking for. Model railroad stuff. Bacon, I think I've heard Games Workshop is a pain to deal with as a retailer. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. It seems like for a store like the one I was talking about, that they sell like a bunch of stuff and not solely Games Workshop. I could see how that would be a pain. And there's a really good store kind of near Von Mills actually, where they sell Warhammer stuff as well as other stuff like comics and blah blah blah, and they seem to be pretty happy with like Games Workshop, but I think that's because they're like effectively like a big power retailer. Like, they sell a lot of Games Workshop stuff, so I think for smaller stores that don't want to carry like everything Games Workshop, just some stuff, I could see how that would be pretty tricky. But yeah, they did have other miniature-based strategy games at the store we went to. It was called Hobby Center? I don't want to say the wrong thing, so I'll check it. And in a second, after we do this initial highlighting, we can take a little break and talk about what I bought there, actually. Like, they are very anal about how and when you display the merch and the type of stock you get. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Interesting. Yeah, because there was a store back in Scarborough that carried GW stuff. And they had this display. It seems like, from looking at stores that carry GW stuff, non-Games Workshop stores that carry GW stuff, they all look the same, like the display. So yeah, that definitely checks out what you're saying. And eventually that store, they stopped carrying Games Workshop stuff. I was like, okay. They had actually a pretty good price point on their GW stuff too, but oh well. But yeah, the one that we went to yesterday, they carried this game called Conquest. Just a couple miniatures and the starter box for Conquest. I doubt that it's selling all that well for them, just because I don't know if Conquest is selling all that well, period. But interestingly enough, one of the designers, the lead designer for Conquest, is Alessio Cavatore, Italian game designer who actually worked at Games Workshop during the period where I really kind of was the most interested in the game, like late 5th edition, 6th edition. He was, I think, the head designer on 6th edition, and that's the last edition that I played for Warhammer Fantasy. And he also wrote the rules for the Lord of the Rings game, which it's a credit to the game design that game has lasted all this long to this day. to the game design, and obviously it's a incredibly strong property, of course. And he wrote the rules for that. Alessio Cavatore. Games Workshop wants people to buy from their own store. I guess so. And they have quite a few stores. However, in Canada, they don't have as many as, like, obviously, like in the UK or other European places. I feel like the experience you get from buying from a Games Workshop store is that, like, you would get like an expert at the game to kind of like help you understand what you're doing, like, well, quote unquote an expert. Who knows how how knowledgeable these guys really are, right? They should be, because they're working there. And also, in pre-COVID times, it was a place to actually play Warhammer too, right? It was kind of like you know, like a gathering place, and that's primarily where I played Warhammer. And a lot of places aren't like that, where you buy Games Workshop stuff outside of the actual stores. Although the one that I was thinking about in Von Mills, you can play Warhammer, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, some of the stores that carry Games Workshop stuff, they have like they sell their stuff at like at a discount too. I don't know what they call it, but it's like this agreed upon discount for Warhammer stuff. Also online. Like, generally speaking, from when I've been looking at Games Workshop stuff that's on sale on the internet, or like, you know, like to buy on the internet, generally it seems like there's a discount that applies to all the stores, and it's always the same, like, you know, like 15-20% off, and it almost never goes lower than that. So I don't know if that's some kind of like agreed upon thing. The other game that I saw at that hobby store was something called from a company called Warlords, and they're based in the UK, and a number of their designers came from Games Workshop as well. And they make like a World War II game, so I'm not really that interested in World War II strategy battle games, right? Yeah, that's just not my thing. I'd rather play a fantasy game or a sci-fi game, right? However, that game actually has a side variant where it is a sci-fi game. Like, it's like, imagine a world where World War II was going on, but also there was like this sci-fi element where every army had mechs as well. So the interesting thing about that game, I should really look up the name, because I'm kind of drawing a blank right now. All I know is that the company's called Warlord, but the interesting thing about that game is all the miniatures for the normal World War II game apply. So yeah, you buy the tanks, you buy the normal World War II soldiers, blah blah blah. But this alternate mode of game, you know, includes big mechs and like robot soldiers and stuff like that too. I think that's kind of funny. Night Trap, it's called Hobby Center. Yeah, the store that we went to. Yeah. I was drawing a blank on the name. So they do sell some Warhammer stuff, and here's just a quick teaser. But yeah, I bought one paint there from this range called Army Painter War Paints, and apparently this brand is pretty good, possibly as good, if not better than Citadel, if only just because the bottles are better. The Citadel bottles, not incredibly great, to be honest. These ones are a little better than the older ones, but these bottles are supposed to be very good just because they're actually like, you just kind of open it up, screw it open, and drop. And I've seen a number of people actually replace their Citadel bottle paints for bottles that are more like this. You know, you can buy from like eBay or something, like 50 bottles, empty bottles. Mikazuki, what is this awful music? Oh, I'm sorry you don't like it, but it's from a game called blah 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 blah. Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Oh, it's a game. It's from a game called Arcanum. I'll probably change the music in a bit, but yeah, the music stays. So what kind of music are you into, Mikazuki, then? So Hobby Center mostly carries like traditional plastic model kits, like you know, like model cars, model tanks. Bacon, I think the music is fine. Yeah, I seem to think that the music is fine too, but you know, everyone has their own taste. What can you say? What can you say? Yeah, mostly like model cars and model tanks and stuff. And the Gunpla section wasn't super big, but they did have a decent selection of stuff, including frame arm. Is that what they're called? Frame arm girls. They had a couple of those, and other kinds of like girl mecha thing suits, and non Gunpla models. And that's what I bought. I bought a model from outside of Gunpla, because I don't know. I just felt like buying something different, I guess. Everyone's like getting into Gunpla from our little circle of friends, and I don't know. When I was looking at models that I would be interested in getting, it's not like they had any of the ones I was specifically looking for within the Gunpla range. So, oh, frame arm girls, Bacon, yeah. So I was like, all right, let's get something else. Frame arm girls. Those are a little pricier. Like, I mean, they're not crazy expensive. They're not like super expensive, but I was like, if I'm gonna buy a model, and this is like my first time getting back into making models, I should probably get something a little inexpensive, right? So that's what I got. Let's they cost a bit more than your average Gunpla. Okay, like relative to the size of the model, I guess. Because the model I got was actually, it's considered smaller than your, it's a smaller scale, I guess, compared to like a high grade, I guess. But the price point is probably kind of close to a high grade. Yeah, I was watching some reviews after I bought it. I was like, oh, let me watch some reviews. Maybe this thing I bought sucks. But no, the reviews I was watching, they were saying like, okay, they're pretty good and they're pretty interesting sets. But one thing that you need to realize is that you shouldn't be surprised that they're quite small. And I was thinking that they were kind of small, at least compared to a HG frame on girls. Yeah, so you know, we'll see how building this model goes, and then maybe I'll go pick up something else next time. I think that so the model that I bought, and I guess I can talk about this more a little later, but I feel like the model I bought, they kind of intend for you to buy like a bunch to make like a squad. They're at like a price point where it's not super expensive, but you could potentially get a squad of them, and I'm like, I don't think I want to get like a bunch of these guys. Just wanted to get one just to see what it was like, and I'd definitely be interested in getting more models of a similar feeling. I know that sounds all very vague, and because I haven't actually showed what I'm talking about, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. It's actually really interesting in this day and age now how there's just so many options for model kits, right? Just because, you know, the last time I really paid attention to model kits in Gunpla, Namco Bandai and Gundam models were really like the only game in town. I'm sure that there was other companies making models, but yeah, they were just about the only main producers of those model kits, of like big robot model kits, and now there's like all sorts of companies getting in on the action, right? Mikazuki, you just want to work on your Chimera? I guess you haven't, you're like still away at work at the moment, like you're travel working. I know you mentioned that last time. Just imagine the day when you finally get to work on your models, and you'll be like, oh yes, I can't wait, and then you'll be super motivated throughout the day. Oh yeah, by the way, Mikazuki, I saw that video that you mentioned previously about like doing a stencil for your Gene Stealer cults, or the general technique that is for doing stencils. That was pretty cool, actually. Pretty interesting technique from the Warhammer community, the Warhammer Painting Tips YouTube channel. Okay. Alright, got 2 more guns to do. 2 more guns. Let's see. I think that's the end of this playlist. Let's get another one going on. Hold on a second. See if this is... Okay, there we go. Mikazuki, I was meant to finish today, but they extended your contract until Monday. The graffiti video, yeah, very cool, very cool. The result ended up looking good too, you know, like it's fairly quick to do, to create this look of like having graffiti stenciled onto like walls, or you could do it on the side of a vehicle. The result is pretty nice, and it's not too hard to do. Hold on a second. Hold up. Let's close that. Do I have... Yeah. This should work now. TGB Mammoth Panzer. I see Space Elves. Hello. How's it going? How is it going? Yep. Good old Space Elves. I'm hyped for the new release. Actually, I'm sure many of you watching now or in the future are aware that today Games Workshop released a new video showing off the new design for the Eldar avatar. Go check it out if you haven't seen it yet, because the model is pretty good. It's pretty nice. But I would actually recommend I don't know how you go about finding it. It's like further down the playlist. Yesterday, Games Workshop, I'm just mixing up this paint, so pardon me, showed a teaser for the new Eldar model, the new Eldar avatar model. And the teaser trailer was actually pretty hilarious because they basically just show the old Eldar model, the old Eldar avatar model, and how he's become like outclassed as other models in the Warhammer range have like grown, you know, from the old 80s Greater Demon of Slanesh to like the new Greater Demon of Slanesh, and yet the Eldar model, the Eldar avatar, has stayed the same. It's pretty funny. Check that out. But yeah, so today they released the new model, and it looks pretty damn nice, I gotta say. I might have some minor complaints about it, but I think that's to be reserved for like when they show more pictures of it. But generally, I think it looks really nice. Mikazuki, I was thinking about doing in the front or side of your Chimera the graffiti technique. Yeah, definitely do it. I think on the side for sure. I think that would look good, depending on how flat the surface is of the front of the model of the Chimera. That might be good too. Mikazuki, that was meant for tomorrow, but someone clicked the wrong button. Oh, the avatar? TGB, the stream keeps buffering, but I think it's on my end. Okay. Anyone else, let me know how the stream is for you guys. Let me know how it is. This is actually a new setup for me. I'm kind of streaming in a different way than I have in the past. Previously, I was basically just doing this with my iPad, really, and it was okay for a while, but recently I've been having some issues streaming from the iPad using the OBS app. So my brother helped me out big time. Shout out to Night Trap. He helped me out a lot, and now we have OBS running on my computer. So I'm kind of getting used to streaming with this. This is my first time doing this, but I think in the long term that's going to be good for the stream. I can kind of make it a little more presentable, a little more professional, quote unquote. So that'll be nice. Stream is fine, looks fine. Okay, then it's on your end. Okay. I think yeah, if I can make further progress with my Twitch adventure, I think like the more followers you get, or like when you become an affiliate, you get like options to change the resolution, and I don't think that option is available to me right now. I'm not really sure. I don't think so. The camera's definitely better. Bacon now. Something's a little different. Yeah, the music too is... Yeah, it's all done via OBS now, rather than my iPad setup. The camera's definitely better than previously. That's good too, because I think that the iPad camera is decent, but especially for like painting miniatures and stuff, you know, you want to get as good a resolution as possible. And also, I'm pretty sure that the autofocusing issue is resolved as well. So we're making strides. We're making strides to get my stream a little nicer, bit by bit. Yeah, starting around Christmas time, we've been kind of trying to improve our streaming setup and stuff, buying lighting, more lighting, and yeah, just various things to make streaming a little better. We haven't tested it out, but I could probably play some games on this too. They're just not gonna be like the latest greatest games. Probably not even like last gen games, to be honest, which is fine. I don't mind playing retro stuff. I might play some retro stuff, or just indie type games. Okay. Oh, is that tonight, by the way? There's like some kind of like Games Workshop event, is there not? To show off some stuff, some new miniatures or whatever. Is that tonight or tomorrow? I kind of forgot. All right, so would you do a white highlight? Yeah, so I think I'm gonna do that. Night Trap. I'm gonna do that, but I'm gonna save that for when it's attached to the model, just because I think I'll have a better idea of where to put the highlights. We can do a little preview there. There's a little preview of how it's gonna look. And I think that's gonna look pretty good. Now, take a look at this. Goro. Painting lots of guns. Yeah, guns. How's it going, Goro? So if you take a look right here, see this little dangly thing? You see that? Occasionally these models have these little accents like that. And for a while, I was kind of wondering, what the hell am I going to paint that, right? Because I've already painted sort of like yellow and blue and bone, and I don't think this will look good in any of those colors, not yellow or the blue. And if I paint it bone, it kind of gets lost between the gun and the dangler. So I was like, you know what this looks like though? This looks like a cute little keychain dangler that like girls have on the like hanging from their phones. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna paint it as if it's a little dangly thing. And if you look here, there it is again. It's like a Eldar rune, little rune talisman thing, right? And they've got some more on the back, right? I was like, okay, if it's supposed to be a cute little dangler cell phone charm, then this is why I bought this color. Pixie Pink. I want like a super bright, obnoxious pink color to paint the charms, the cell phone charms. Instead of cell phones, it's their Shuriken Catapult. And I think that this color here is so bright that when I'm using it on such a small little part here like this, right? It's just such a small tiny part. It'll be enough to kind of like be an accent, but not like super distracting. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be super distracting. Just a little something, you know? So that's why I bought that color at Hobby Center. Ba 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 da 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 da. Goro, it's the severed ear of their enemies, hung like a trophy. Yeah, that's more of a Dark Eldar thing. You should check out the Dark Eldar range. Night Trap, I understood that reference. TGB back on the stream, and now it's fine. Okay, good. That's good to know. Okay, so Mikazuki is asking, what are my thoughts on the Dark Eldar range? I think they look pretty cool. Now, I can't say anything about like how they are strategically in the game, because honestly I'm so out of touch with the game. That's something that I should probably kind of make clear every now and then for my viewers here. I'm sort of a lapsed fan of Games Workshop and stuff. Like, I played a lot, but within the last few years, I've kind of been slowly getting back into the hobby, so I don't really know much about the rules and stuff. But I think that the would I start an army as a painting project, Mikazuki? Yeah, I think I might start one. Not an army, rather. I'd be interested in getting some models, because I do think that they look really cool. In some ways, I think that they look a lot cooler than these guys, at least, because these guys have like kind of like a sleek, almost anime look to them. But the Dark Eldar range is like basically that, but more edgy, and that seems more in keeping with the Warhammer 40k world. Is like 40k to me is just everything is turned up to 100, 1000 in terms of like darkness and edginess. I do have one, I think I've showed this before, I don't know if you've seen it, but I do have this one model here. It's a dark, it's one of the original Dark Eldar models from the original first range, and it's metal, if you hear that. But yeah, it's a metal model, and this is Lilith Hersperax. And I'm almost done this model. I need to finish, I would like to finish this model before the end of the month. But yeah, even though this model is quite old, and I think that the new Lilith Hersperax models, or rather model from that was released like a year ago, 2 years ago, I think that one looks really, really good. This one still is pretty neat. I did make some changes to it. I changed the arm position. The arm wasn't posed this way, and it was missing some parts. It was missing her. She was missing her leg here, so I had to replace her leg. But generally, even though this is a fairly old model, I think that it's quite nice, and the modern Dark Eldar range look even better in terms of the sculpting and stuff. So yeah, I'm not opposed to buying and checking out some Dark Eldar models to paint. But that could be a long while from now, because I'm definitely considering many other things to paint in the future as a project. TGB, I stopped playing at the end of 7th edition, but getting back into it for 9th only because my brother and friends have convinced me to. Okay. So how are you enjoying, I'm assuming 40k, how are you enjoying 40k these days now? Is it still fun for you? Is it fun coming back to it? What army are you playing, by the way? I know that Mikazuki here is building a Gene Stealer cult army. Okay. Okay. Let's see. We're at the hour and 5 mark. I think it's time for me to take a little break, guys. I'm going to take a little break. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves or whatever. I'll catch up on the messages. I'm going to get some water and stretch for a little bit, and then we'll continue painting these guys. So be our